Hi guys, today let us talk about the types of neurons. The last class we saw about the structure of neurons. Today let us take up the types of neurons. There are 5 types of neurons: unipolar, bipolar, multipolar, pseudo-unipolar and apolar. First one, unipolar. You can see the diagram. Unipolar has only one axon. It has got only one neurite. This portion is the neurite that extends from the cell body. This neurite divides and branches to form the dendrite and the axon. So, the unipolar neuron has only one neurite which branches to form dendrite and axon. The cell body contains nucleus and other organelles as such. This location of cell body actually divides the axon into 2 processes, one peripheral process and central process. The peripheral process, the distal end of the peripheral process are the dendrites. These dendrites are embedded in the organ. Okay, there are 2. The location of the cell body divides the axon into 2 processes, one peripheral and central process. The distal end of the peripheral process is the dendrites which are embedded in the organ. So when we see the conduction of impulses in unipolar neuron, the action potential is generated from the dendrite and then it is passed through the peripheral process and then to the cell body and then to the central process and finally to the CNS. So the conduction process in the unipolar is the action potential developed from the dendrites passes through the peripheral process and then enters the cell body and then into the central process and finally enters into the CNS. Okay, this unipolar neuron is present in the embryo, very important, embryo, and then in the central nervous system of invertebrates including insects. So these unipolar neurons are actually mostly present in embryo and then the CNS of invertebrates including insects. So what is the main function? What are the main functions? They are for realizing pain, touch, temperature and taste. Then coming to bipolar, you can see the diagram. Here central is the cell body which contains nucleus and other process. It has got one axon and one dendrite. This dendrite is axon. So bipolar, central of the bipolar is the cell body. It has got one axon and one dendrite. Where are they present? Bipolar neurons are present in retina, eye, retina, brain, spinal cord and roof of the nasal cavity. What are the main functions of bipolar neurons? They are for smell, recognizing smell, sight, taste, hearing purposes, touch, balance, visual and auditory information. So they are present in the visual organs, eye, and the auditory organ, ear, internal ear. So smell, touch, taste, hearing, balance, visual and auditory information are the main functions of the bipolar. So here unipolar only one axon, here bipolar one axon on and one dendrite. One axon on one dendrite. Then coming to multipolar, here one axon and many dendrites, cell body, one axon and many dendrites. Most commonly present neuron is the multipolar. Actually, they are present in the cerebral cortex of the brain. Cerebral cortex of the brain. Motor neurons. So you see the afferent and efferent pathway. The afferent neurons are the sensory neurons and the efferent neurons are the motor neurons. This efferent motor neurons are always multipolar because they have to conduct senses to all parts of the body. So this structure we have seen in the last video. Now we can see the difference between the axon and dendrite. If you see the in multipolar, axon and dendrite, axon is one in number, whereas dendrites are many in number. Number two, the axon is tapering, whereas it is uniform, and then it is axon is long and unbranched, whereas dendrite is short and branched. Another important point you must know, the Nissl granules are absent in axon, whereas the Nissl granules are present in the axon. It's a very important point, you must note down. Nissl granules are absent in the axon, whereas they are present in the dendrites. Another important point you must note down, here in the dendrites, the impulses are towards one point, so they are centripetal in conduction. In dendrites, the impulses are conducted towards center, so it is called centripetal conduction, whereas in axon it is conducted centrifugally outwards. So here in axon the nerve impulse conduction is centrifugal. So I summarize, the axon one in number, they are many in number. Axon is long and unbranched, dendrites are short and branched. Nissl granules are absent in axon, present in dendrites. The conduction of impulse is centripetal in the cell body or dendrites, whereas in axon the conduction is centrifugal. This you must know. Then coming to the fourth type, pseudo unipolar. Here you got only one axon, pseudo unipolar. Here small process develops from axon which act as dendrite. This is a process, this is a cell body. So a small process develops from the axon and acts as the dendrites. Actually the pseudo unipolar is the modification or variation of the bipolar neuron. It has got two processes which unite to form into one short common axon. So actually in the beginning they have got two processes, they unite to form a single axon. From that axon a process develops which acts as the dendrites. They are present in the dorsal root ganglia. And finally coming to apolar. Finally apolar neuron. You can see here there is only cyton is present. There are no dendrites, no dendrons, no axon. The impulses radiate in all directions. You can see this type of apolar neuron in Hydra belonging to the phylum Coelenterata. So this is all about the types of neurons. One unipolar, one axon, bipolar, one axon and one dendrite, multipolar, one axon, many dendrites, pseudo unipolar, variation of bipolar, and then actually two processes combine to form one axon. From that axon dendrites arise, and finally apolar, only cyton is present, no dendrites, no axon. The impulses radiates in all directions here. So these are all the types of neurons. So we have seen the type of neurons in this class. Next class we will proceed with the transmission of impulses from one neuron to another neuron, the sodium potassium pump, how these impulses are transmitted. Till then, thank you very much.